y'all. What's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Healing Virgin Podcast and the interview segment of the Healing Virgin Podcast, which is Versions of Healing. If this is your first time here today, thank you. I appreciate it. Today, I am joined by Corbie Mitleid, a writer, visionary, and intuitive guide who has turned a life of challenges into a source of wisdom and empowerment for others. From navigating breast cancer 3 times to facing divorce, abuse, and poverty, Corbie has walked through life's deepest valleys and emerged with strength, courage, and humor. As a certified tarot master, psychic medium, past life specialist, and channel, she helps people all over the world connect with clarity, purpose, and possibility. Thank you so much for being here today. Corbie, how are you?
It's a glorious fall day here in the Catskill Mountains, and I couldn't be better.
Awesome. And where is that exactly?
The Catskills are about an hour west of Albany, New York.
Oh, okay. All right. I bet that is beautiful. All right. So, you describe yourself as the different one in your family of medical professionals.
hmm
How did that shape your early path in life?
I've always been the rebel. I mean, Dad was a cardiologist, my mother was a nurse, my brother is a pediatric pulmonologist, world famous. Me, I was an actress, I was a writer. I was the one who saw the world completely differently, but it was always medical talk around the table. I could have stood on the table and tap danced and recited Shakespeare. They would not have seen me. So that meant I had to go find a road that the rest of my family didn't run.
So did that cause you to have to connect with other people outside of that immediate family?
Absolutely.
And did you have people that you connected with at a young age?
Well, I had the drama kids in high school. Theater is
Okay.
theater in theater. Went to Brown University and left after 2.5 years because it really wasn't a place that I should have been. And so did a lot of stuff with reenacting groups, especially Renaissance and medieval, but always kept looking at psychic stuff, magic. Because remember, back in the late 60s and early 70s is when it was first blooming. And I
Mm-hmm.
got my first tarot deck when I was a senior in high school. Because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your David Crosby fringe jacket in your deck. Um, and that helped me connect with people for a good 20 years before I went professional.
So did you face any criticism? Because I know back as far back as I can remember in the '90s, it was a demonic thing, and you don't know people's future, and it was a lot of misinformation.
Well, I would just usually look at them and smile and say, have you read Acts chapter 2 recently? Even so that I can do, you can do too. But the other thing that I explain to people is I'm not here to amaze you with my wiki will. I'm here in service. It's here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here is your toolbox. Go rock and roll because it's your free will that's going to make all the decisions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you started, and then you said 20 years.
Well, yes, I started reading in 73, 93, 94. All of a sudden, I could do hands on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, you're working for us. And I started doing it part time professionally, but I had a very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, executive recruiter, but always the psychic work on the side until 9/11. As we watched the towers burn, I turned to my husband and I said, Carl, I need to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So since then, 6 days a week, 14 hours a day, I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's huge.
Mm, that's the goal. That's my goal anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yes, I like that. You get to get up in the morning. You don't have to get up. That's awesome. Um, so you talked about living the examined life. What does that mean for you, and how can others begin to live the examined life?
Well, It is the kind of thing that I learned at a place called the Option Institute in Massachusetts years ago. The idea is stimulus belief response. A situation doesn't make you feel a certain way. It happens, it's neutral, and you choose it. Example, let's say it's raining out. A guy at the Jersey Shore is only there for a week with his kids. It's going to rain all week, ruins the plans. I'm working in my office and the cats are snoozing on the cat tree. I don't care. Farmers in Schoharie County, where I live, are dancing with joy because it's been drought for 2 months. Okay. Stimulus. What we believe is how we respond. Now, if we change our belief, we change our response. This guy at the shore says, I've wanted to show my kids every single Pink Panther movie and just rock it with them. And so he does that. And I still don't care. And there's this one farmer that says, damn it, if it had only held off for another 2 weeks, I would have gotten a big insurance payment. So he's mad. But the rain doesn't care. Now, how did I work this in my life? One of the things I had to deal with is from the time I was 11, I had a Dolly Parton figure. Literally put a brunette wig on Dolly, and there I was, which made life very, very hard because people never looked above the neck or below the waist, and you were expected to be a sex object and nothing else. Well, I dealt with that. That's where the rape and the dysfunctional family and the poverty all came in. But finally, I married the right guy. 18 months after we got married, the doctor said, well, this is your third bout of cancer, even though it turns the danger clock back to zero because it's a second primary. We're taking the rack, we're taking the ovaries, and you're going from the Dolly Parton figure to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. And we're going to damage you so much internally you'll never have sex again. Suck it up. That's literally how they said it. Well, I went home and cried for 24 hours because I'm normal. But then I knew that I had to find reasons to be okay with it or it wasn't going to work. So I said, I don't care how stupid they are, I'm going to find 3 reasons. Number 1, you don't have them, you can't get cancer there. Number 2, the top half is not going to get slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year, and every woman listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. Third, implants, I'll be perky till I'm 93. Okay. As a result, double mastectomy and reconstruction. I got out of Mass General in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit in 5. That was in 2004, and Carl and I were celebrating our 23rd wedding anniversary this year.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's amazing.
It took work. It did, because this was not the marriage we expected. But
Mm.
both of us believe that a marriage is 60-60. Each partner goes a little bit more than halfway, and it's the extra 10% that locks it in the tough times.
I love it. Corbie is dropping gems. I hope y'all are listening. I know I'm over
Honey,
here listening.
I'm
Look,
70. If I haven't learned
you
something by
don't
now, you can
look
forget it.
70. I have to release this video because they have to see your face. You're beautiful. You don't look 70 at all. Oh,
Well,
so
I do
something's
kid.
going great over there.
I do kid and say it's because I didn't have kids. So, no late nights, no worry. But the other thing is, when you take good care of yourself, when you love what you do, when
Mm,
you ratchet down the stress level as much as you can, this is the result. Now,
yes.
admittedly, the silver streak is real. The rest of it is better living through chemistry, but it was the color it was before it all went gray. So there you go.
There you go. And I say that all the time. I'm like, you should do what you love. Like, I have kids graduating from high school,
Hmm.
and one of them is like, oh, I want to go into the medical field because they make all this money. And I'm like, well, do you have a passion for that? Are you going to be happy to go and work in the medical field every day and just be so happy and thrilled that you're doing what you're doing? Or are you doing it because you can't wait to get paid? And if you're just doing it for the money, don't do it, because if you do it, you're going to be miserable. You're going to have all this money and be mad.
I agree with you, except there's a little bit of twist. When you and I grew up, the world was very different. That's one of the reasons I call myself an elder, not a boomer. Because boomers we had the best cars and the best music and the best stuff. And, y'all ought to listen to me because we got it done right. And why don't you? But
Mm-hmm.
when we were growing up, we were never afraid of mass shooting in schools. We were never afraid the world would be uninhabitable in our lifetime. America was still, for the most part, a democracy. We
Mm-hmm.
could still earn enough money to raise a family and get a house. Gen Z doesn't have that now.
No.
And so, yes, choose what you're going to do, but not only because you love it, but because you think it's going to make a difference in the world that you need to recreate. I have so much faith in Gen Z. They're going to take what all we hippies thought we could create and messed up, and they're going to reshape the world because they have to.
Yes.
And I trust them implicitly.
Yes. A lot of amazing folks. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. That's good. That's real good. I told y'all she dropping gems. So yeah. Get your pen and paper out. So you bring a wide range of tools, the tarot, the mediumship,
Mm-hmm.
past life work. How do you know which approach is right for each client?
When you sit down with me, I warn you, I'm funny. I've even done stand-up comedy about you think a psychic's life is easy. So I don't sit down with the aura of a lot of psychics. I am so brilliant, my aura don't stink. You sit with me, I'll look at you and say, what's the most important thing you want to get out of your knowing? And if you go blank on me, I'll go Brooklyn on you and go, darling, what's biting your butt? Because immediately everybody's got that one thing and they'll tell me. The four things I do, the simple version is cards are the everyday tour bus. House card, job, kids, finances. Okay, God, you put me here. What the hell's going on? Past lives, an obsession, a phobia, a person or a place. Why do I love Victorian China? Why am I afraid of oatmeal? Why can I never forget the first guy I ever dated? It's been 80 years. And yes, we can talk to your spirit guide, Binky. And yes, we can talk to dead Aunt Mabel, but I'm not dial-a-dead. Nobody is. If Aunt Mabel's on a field trip, she won't be by the phone. So it really is, what does my client need most? Most often, it does tend to be the cards. They need to get a look at what's going on in the world. But past lives, I don't do it just because it's cool. I do it because it really helps people in difficult situations. And the best story I have for that is a woman came to me and said, I don't know what to do about my son. He's 29, won't make any decisions without me, won't live more than a mile away. That isn't right. What's going on? I was able to quickly go in, tap into the Akashic, and I said to her, okay, I'm seeing 1944 on Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. Your son is a soldier. He's wounded. He's down. He's got shrapnel in his leg. He's bleeding out. You're his commanding officer. You scramble over the dune. You drag him to safety. You take some shrapnel too, but you both live. And I opened my eyes and she says, can you see my rank? I said, yes, you were a sergeant. She goes, he's called me Sarge since he was 3 years old and we never knew where that came from.
Oh,
Boom.
wow.
In that position, mom can explain this to the kid and see if she can uncouple them from that desperate connection that he seems to need.
Hmm. So, okay, so I started dibbling in some past life experiences stuff, just
Cool.
really research.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to figure out some things. And there was this guy who did like some hypnosis things, and he was able to tell like this lady like why she couldn't shake this ex, and he was like
Mm-hmm.
she watched him like die in her past life.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also was saying that people, like my children, for example, they're somebody from my past life. Who they are,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So is that true for most people in your life? Like that you have some type of past life connection?
Not everybody, but the major people, yes. Now, what you talked about with the guy with hypnosis, it's really important that your listeners know the difference between past life retrieval, which is what I do, and past life regression, which is what happened with you. Past life regression must only be done with a certified hypnotherapist or past life regressionist because you, untrained, are the one who's going to go waltzing up to the Akashic and look in the library. And if you see something terribly traumatic, a frightening death, and you're up there alone, it could do you some real emotional and mental damage. But
Mm,
the certified hypnotherapist can pull you out just enough so that you can observe it but not relive it. What I do is just, you tell me, why am I afraid of wet hair on my face? I go up to the Akashic, I pull down the correct life and say, read chapter 2. It is much, I don't want to say safer because what you did with the right people is not, unsafe, but there is not as much visceral emotional involvement if I can go do that work for you.
Right.
And I can do that at a psychic expo. You don't want to get exposed at a psychic expo when you're out and you're wandering and some yutz comes walking by and goes, "Hey, what you doing?" But no, you don't want to do that.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? I can only imagine like what
I've
would
seen
be.
it.
This episode is brought to you by our sponsors, Psychic Source. And listen, if you've been looking for deeper guidance on your purpose, relationships, or healing, this might be exactly what you need. I had a session with one of the advisors, and the insight I received, y'all, was soul level confirmation. They truly saw me. And also, y'all, Skid Swords has been around for over 35 years. That's almost my age. You can connect through phone, video, or text. And right now, you can get 40 minutes for only $19.80. That is a $240 value. Click the link in the show notes or simply go to trypsychicsource.com/HVP. Again, that's trypsychicsource.com/H for healing, V for version, P for podcast. Thank you. Absolutely. Can you imagine? I can only imagine like what
I've
would
seen
be.
it. And I want to go, what are you thinking? Ugh.
Yeah, yeah. That's a real personal and private experience,
Mhm.
I think, anyway. Uh,
To go back to what you asked about, is everybody in our life? No, but we do have certain relationships with our soul, with other souls, that often replay. For instance, my soul knew that I had heaped a lot on my learning plate, my karmic plate for this lifetime, and I would need a best friend as a father. So my soul talked to the soul that usually comes in as my best friend, life after life after life, and said, "Would you be willing to be the father in this life experience?" And he said, "Yes." My father and I had the same birthday. He's the only one in the family that got what I really did, and he was my best friend. Yes, we have had lives before.
awesome. So it's usually identified by that special connection.
Hmm. Or it can be someone that drives you nuts, but they volunteered to do that. For instance,
Mm.
my mother and I have never had a life before. She's had them with dad, but not with me. But she agreed to play the part of the villain in my life to galvanize me into the change, into learning, into figuring out what I had to do to keep myself safe and on target.
Wow. Wow. So how do you know she's not from a past life?
Because I've done an awful lot of past life work on my own. I've spoken to her since she's crossed. I spoke to my dad since he crossed.
Okay.
And no, there was no connection. There has been karma forged now because of the work that we did together. But her karma was mainly with my father. They're the ones that
Mhm.
life after life after life have been together.
Gotcha, gotcha. So I know that the work that you do is it requires how do I want to say this? Like a daily practice. So it's like a muscle, something you have to work out daily. What are some of
Hmm.
the things that you do daily to keep yourself sharp?
Get enough sleep, get a decent diet. Do not let the cats wake me up before 5 in the morning. I don't care how hungry they are for breakfast. I got Maine Coons, honey. Maine Coon
Oh,
cats
they're
are the size
huge.
of
I want a Maine
beagles.
Coon.
Oh, they're wonderful. They're little dogs in cat suits. Um, I keep my boundaries. I know when to say no. Um, Before COVID, I was on the road 45 weekends a year. My nickname was the Travel Channel. And I loved coming home to this tiny little house. I mean, 864 square feet, but we're in the middle of a 12-acre hayfield. We don't see our neighbors. I rest. There are a couple of days a week I will not read you. I don't care if you're dying. I'll send you to one of the psychics that I know. Um, I will not be guilted or judged into doing something I don't want to do. I mean, there are people at, a psychic fair. It's where I make my living. But there are people who will come up to you and say, well, you're not doing anything. How about reading for me for free? Or you're not really spiritual. You want money for that. And I know you're not supposed to charge. Or how about reading me and my friend and we only pay you once? Or I don't have any money, but I really want the reading. And they stare at you.
The
I'm
nerve.
sorry. It's like, what if you said to your doctor, oh, you obviously aren't very compassionate. You just want me to get sick and die because I won't pay you. Hello? Go to your hairdresser. Well, you're not doing anything. Why don't you cut my hair? No. So,
Right. Like the
mm-mm. And the ones my two favorite psychic first stories, a guy walked up and said, boy, tell me something you couldn't know about me. And if you're right, I'll have a reading. I smiled and said, I'm sorry. I don't roll over and fetch either. And I turned my back and he did not get a reading. And the other one was I take a 15-minute break every 2 hours to kind of scrub out my brain. And at one point I was grabbing a sandwich. The guy leans over the table, pokes my sandwich and says, you don't need to eat right now. My wife wants a reading. My assistant slid right in front of me and got him out. And of course, I didn't read them either. When we are treated like a burger or a car wash or a latte, you are not going to get good service from me. Treat me like the professional I am, and you'll have the best in the business.
so I when you're telling these stories, I'm just thinking of people who like try to antagonize you and get a reaction so that they can be like, "Oh, you're not really powerful. You reacted this way." And it's like at the end of the day, I'm still a human
Mm-hmm.
being, and what you're not going to do is try to antagonize me or try to scare me into doing something or push me into it because of whatever you're dealing with internally. Because most of the time, there's people who are jacked up in the head that do stuff like that. Because
That's right.
no normal thinking person is going to do any of the things that you just mentioned. Like,
No, they like to do it to see if they can get a rise out of you. It's true.
yeah,
Um, and there are some people who only go to a psychic because they want what they want. And they'll ask a million questions like, does Bruce love me? No. Well, is he gonna love me? Not the way you want. Well, if I do such and such, is he gonna love me? No. Well, what if I call him? And beep, beep, because they're expecting you to finally go, yes, yes, he loves you, but he just doesn't know it yet, and he wants 7 babies with you. Oh, good, I do. No.
No,
Nice
just
try,
take
but
it.
no.
And I feel like with those type of people, they already know before they come. Because one thing that I know when it comes to like psychic medium and getting readings, none of this stuff should be like stuff that you're hearing for the first time. It should really be confirmation of some things that you already know. It may be some stuff that you're like, okay, I needed to know that. But for the most
Yes.
part, especially if you're dealing with somebody, you got all those questions. If you need to ask if somebody
That's
love
right.
you, if they go, just hang it up, just
Take
leave
take a
already,
take a chill pill, honey, and clue brick
just leave
upside the head.
already.
But one of the things I also do is I teach my clients don't ask the yes or no questions, ask how. For instance, if you said, I want to open up my own recording studio, is it going to be successful? Well, an ordinary psychic might flip 3 cards and go, wait until October and fire the second redhead. Now, I give you an entrepreneur spread, a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location to look for, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. And yes, I record all of my readings because I go that fast. But do you see how I've given you all of the parameters so you can take the business and make it rock and roll? I'm
Yes.
not telling you whether it's a success or not because that's your free will.
Yep. It's up to you whether or not you make it successful. Because I mean, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell them, yeah, do this, and this is what you need to do. But if you do all those things and you put no work into it, then it's not going to be successful. Now they're mad at you because you told them it would be successful, and it's not. No, I'm telling you how to
That's
set it
right.
up, and then it's up to you to make that
Mm-hmm.
thing work. I love it.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, all good information. So you said you it's a psychic fair that you work at. So is it like a
They're all over the place. It's not just one. They are psychic fairs. They're spiritual expos. They're like big wiki woo trade shows, is what I'm going to call them. And you'll see it at a hotel or it'll be at a convention center, something like that. Sometimes they're small, like maybe a dozen booths. And sometimes, well, there was one I did in Toronto that was 250. But that's where the danger lies. And you really have to know what you're doing. My
Mm-hmm.
second book is called The Psychic Yellow Brick Road: How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys. And I wrote it because of something that happened there. We have aisles and we all have booths, and people come in, pay the admission. They're walking down the aisles deciding who they want to see. So across from me was one of the fake gypsies. And the woman goes by their table. The fake gypsy runs out, grabs her arm, and says, "You no need to pay 30, 40, $50. I need your bum for 10. Come." And that's called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking, by the way. So she takes the woman into the booth. 15 minutes later, we see this woman leaving crying hysterically. A bunch of us run over and say, "Are you all right? What happened?" The gypsy had said, "Oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? Four? You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for a dog. He's small." And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks, and she believed her. Knew.
Oh my
Now,
goodness. And see, and that is so important. I'm glad you're saying this because I feel like a lot of people, once they get into like listening to tarot readers and stuff, they're just like listening to everybody, and you
mm-mm,
cannot listen
mm-mm,
to
mm-mm,
everybody. Like I
no.
like if
That's
you
why
go
I
ahead.
teach people, I teach people, if you're walking into a psychic fair or a spiritual expo, you know nobody, you have to behave like good puppies. What's that mean? First, you got to do your walkies. That means you go in and you walk around. You just see everybody. You get a feel. And then you got to get paper trained. What does that mean? You go and you collect rack cards or flyers or whatever from the psychics that look like they might be interesting. And then you go sit down. There are always places to sit. And you look through and you read. There'll be three or four you want to go back to and talk to. Now, I can tell you I'm wonderful and that doesn't count. And I hire my front people to say they love me. My very first front person was the wonderful Laura Spickerman. Monday through Friday, she was my husband's office manager at the museum he ran. Do you think she's going to diss Mrs. Museum Director over the weekend? No. So you want to find our testimonial books and flip a few pages. Are we good? Are we funny? Are we kind? We have specialties? Children, dogs, dead people. Are we accurate? Would they come back? You'll see that in the testimonial book. But the last thing is check at heart level. You are putting your hard earned money on the table. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really give a damn about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there, no matter how cool the wiki woo looks on the table. There'll be somebody else at another time. You've got to keep
Mhm.
yourself safe.
Yes, and what you're receiving, because now the lady, she's believing that she can manifest those thoughts, because now she thinks she's gonna, so now she's thinking about
Mm-hmm.
death and probably
Ooh,
scared.
now
Don't
you
want to get in
just
the
hit it.
car.
Do not ever let a psychic tell you about your death or anybody else's, and don't ask. That's between that person and God. It
Yes,
really is.
yeah. I don't know if people ask stuff like that. Like,
Oh, are you kidding? Um, Look, there was a woman who was predicting a certain orange person's demise, and she gave a date, and everybody was so excited about it. Of course, it didn't work, and people were mad and saying all psychics are bad. Well, on my TikTok, I ripped a new one to any psychic that predicts a death because number one, it's illegal in an awful lot of states. Number two, it isn't your business. It's between that person and God. Number three, who made you think that you could pick the right date? And that thing got like
what?
30,000 views because it hit a hot button.
Yeah, that's wow, 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 wow. Ugh, I mean, to even I don't know. I feel like when I think of death, I think of fall and how beautiful fall is, and everything's dying outside, and this is beautiful. So I think of it as a beautiful thing, but I'm never thinking about like, oh, let me see when I'm a die. Let me ask that question. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? We don't. Yeah, there's so many other things you can ask about. guys. It's so many, other things that you
Hmm.
can know about, and while you're still living, breathing, and walking the earth. So ask about some of those things. So, for someone who's listening who may feel lost in their own struggles right now, what's one step they can take today towards clarity and hope?
They can ask themselves three questions. What am I X about? X is however you're feeling, despairing, angry, afraid. Then, why am I feeling X about that? And if you find yourself saying, I don't know, gently say to yourself, if you had to guess. And you will get down to why you're feeling that way. And the third question that we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped feeling X about that?
Yep,
And you can
never
even
ask
do it
that.
with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Example, Johnny comes home, slams the door. I'm so mad. Why are you mad? I'm mad at my teacher. Why are you mad at your teacher? She gave us double homework. Okay. Why are you mad about double homework? Because I wanted to go out and play. Okay. Why do you think you can't go out and play if you have double homework? I don't know. If you had to guess. I guess because I'm afraid I couldn't finish it. Okay. What do you think would happen if you stopped being upset about the double homework? I guess I could do it. And then could I go out and play? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? Okay. Now, look what you just did with Johnny. You didn't dismiss him. You shouldn't be angry at your teacher. Don't tell me that. School is fine. You allowed him to access his own emotions and figure out how to get himself out of that difficult place. If we taught more of our kids how to do that, they would not feel so explosively angry because no one's listening. They would come up with
Yes.
their own answers and feel respected by their parents, which makes them trust the parents more.
Yes. Yes.
Three simple questions.
Yeah, I talk about that all the time because I feel like when I was a kid, and maybe you can relate, that feelings were just pushed off. Like, oh, you're a kid. Like, you don't have feelings. Like, oh, they don't matter. You don't matter right now. And I feel like
Big
that
time.
that's a reason why a lot of us have anxiety, and
Mm-hmm.
and don't know how to properly communicate, and a long list of things. So
Yes.
yeah, it's important to listen to the kids. I want to hear what they have to say, because not only is it important to listen, these kids are smart. I didn't want to hear what they're like. What you gonna say? It's probably
Mm-hmm.
something clever and funny, and yeah, it's important. I thank you for sharing that, and you're very animated. I can see how you did stand up.
And the other thing is, in the past 10 years, I must have literally done 400 of these podcasts. You can ask me about potato recipes, baby, and I will just riff. But I love this stuff. And I'm a teacher and an
Hmm.
elder. And at 70, I know I'm not going to be here in 30 years. I have to get the information out now to the next generations and share as much as I can. And podcasts are a great way to do that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So, how can listeners connect with you and your work if they like to learn more?
Oh, I'm simple. Um, my two main things these days are, like so many people, TikTok, but you're going to find me under the moniker the No Bullshit Psychic. Same thing for Patreon, um, YouTube, Corbie Mitleid. I have a lot of videos there, and of course my website is corbiemitleid.com. So
Okay, so YouTube, TikTok, website, and I will put all of this information in the show notes. So if you're listening
that
to
would
this
be great.
episode, look in the show notes. It will all be there. Well, Corby, I thank you so much for joining me for such a great and funny interview that I believe that the audience is going to really enjoy listening to. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
It was a pure pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening and coming back for another episode of Versions of Healing. And have a wonderful day. Peace.